It was supposed to be just another preseason win, but by midnight, the Cleveland Browns were in crisis mode. A fight broke out in the locker room, but this wasn't about pride or trash talk. This was different. A QB snapped, but another one may have lost his career, and it was all caught on camera. Sources inside the Browns facility described it as complete chaos, teammates pulling one man back, another standing in silence after being attacked, and security radioing for backup. Hours earlier, both quarterbacks were on the same sideline. Now, one may be facing legal charges. The other just earned the locker room's full respect. It wasn't frustration. It wasn't just competition. It was a complete breakdown, raw, emotional, and brutal. One player had a career-defining night. The other had a career-ending one. And the violent moment that brought everything crashing down. Friday night was supposed to be a routine preseason matchup. Instead, it became a spotlight moment for Shedeur Sanders and the flicker that lit the fuse. He wasn't just good. He was nearly perfect. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a quarterback rating so flawless it didn't even feel real. Sanders carved up Carolina's defense like a veteran, reading blitzes before the snap and threading passes into windows that shouldn't even exist in a preseason game. By the third quarter, fans were chanting his name. Players were celebrating like he'd won them a playoff berth. But on the sideline, Dillon Gabriel sat alone, helmet still on, eyes locked downward. Inactive for the game, but emotionally combusting by the minute. Every cheer for Sanders was a dagger. Every high five in the locker room felt like a eulogy for Gabriel's NFL hopes. This wasn't just a good outing by a young quarterback. It was a takeover, a coronation before the season had even started. And while cameras caught the touchdowns, what they didn't catch was the storm quietly building behind Gabriel's visor. Because sometimes, a great performance doesn't just win a game, it ends a career. Dillon Gabriel didn't break on Friday night. He'd already been breaking for weeks. Behind the scenes, coaches started noticing subtle shifts, missed meetings, isolated behavior, a drop in energy that didn't match the stakes. Gabriel's last appearance against Cincinnati had been a disaster. 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, and countless missed reads. His footwork? Sloppy. His confidence? Shattered. By the time Sanders stepped in, Gabriel wasn't just fighting for the job. He was fighting himself. But what made it worse wasn't just the mistakes. It was the contrast. Sanders walked into the same offense, same playbook, same personnel, and delivered like a seasoned pro. There were no excuses to hide behind. No bad line play to blame. Just brutal side-by-side comparisons. Internally, the Browns kept saying it was an open competition. But Gabriel wasn't stupid. Every press conference, every camera angle tilted toward Sanders. Ownership began quietly rallying behind the rookie. Teammates started gravitating to him. Coaches stopped checking in as often. And Gabriel, he started fading, emotionally, mentally, completely. This wasn't about one bad game. It was about watching everything you've worked for slowly slip through your fingers, with no one left in your corner. And when the final blow came, it wasn't subtle. For Dillon Gabriel, the real breaking point wasn't on the field. It happened minutes after the game ended. While cameras were still running, fans were still cheering, and Sanders was being handed the game ball. Without warning, head coach Kevin Stefanski walked into the post-game presser and dropped a bomb. Shedeur Sanders is our starting quarterback moving forward. Just like that. No qualifiers. No "we'll evaluate the tape" speech. No mention of Gabriel. Just a clean, public declaration in front of reporters, fans, and yes, Gabriel's own family, who reportedly found out while watching the broadcast. Imagine learning your fate the same time the entire world does. There was no conversation in private, no message to prepare him, just a televised dismissal of everything Gabriel had been striving toward. According to insider reports, Gabriel's agent started making calls within minutes. demanding answers, threatening grievances, even quietly exploring trade options. But those conversations didn't matter anymore, because once Stefanski picked his guy in front of the entire football world, whatever composure Gabriel had left evaporated. And while the cameras cut away, the real story was just getting started. What happened next would redefine the Browns franchise. It happened fast, but it wasn't random. Sources say Gabriel waited near Sanders' locker long after the team's celebration had started. Teammates passed by, laughing, high-fiving, moving on. But Gabriel didn't move. He stayed still, focused, silent. Security footage, reportedly reviewed by team officials, paints a chilling picture. Gabriel letting the room clear, waiting, calculated, premeditated. When Sanders finally walked in, still in full uniform, game ball in hand, Gabriel stepped directly into his path. What was said between them remains unclear. But within seconds, voices were raised. Then came a sudden, explosive shove. Gabriel grabbed Sanders' jersey and attempted to slam him into the locker wall. Chaos erupted instantly. Teammates jumped in, separating the two. Gabriel, now screaming, had to be physically restrained. One phrase kept echoing from his mouth over and over. "You stole everything from me." Witnesses say Sanders didn't fight back. He didn't swing. He simply looked Gabriel in the eyes and said, "The field decides, not you." That one response, it sent Gabriel into an even deeper rage. At that point, players weren't just holding him back. They were dragging him out. This wasn't a scuffle. This was a full-blown locker room assault. And it shook the entire franchise. By dawn, the Browns were no longer handling this internally. Emergency meetings were held overnight. Team executives, legal counsel, NFL officials all looped in before the sun came up. The footage was reviewed, statements taken, and one thing became clear. This wasn't just a locker room fight. It was something the league couldn't ignore. Dillon Gabriel could now be facing criminal charges. Team security filed reports. Local authorities notified. One insider said the incident is being treated as a potential workplace assault, which means a formal investigation is already in motion. If charges are filed, and that's looking likely, Gabriel's NFL career could be over before it even began. Even if he avoids jail time, the league has its own agenda. A suspension is almost guaranteed. No team wants the PR storm of signing him now. Not after what happened under the league's own roof, on camera. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders didn't say much. He didn't need to. His composure throughout the incident became a story of its own. Praised by veterans and quietly respected by the front office. He walked out of the facility that night as the unquestioned leader of the team. But being a leader now means carrying a team through a situation no rookie should ever have to face. In the middle of chaos, it's easy to panic. Most do, but Shedeur Sanders didn't panic. He didn't even flinch. While teammates scrambled to defuse the situation, Sanders adjusted his jersey, picked up the game ball, and stayed on his feet. No shouting, no swing, no retaliation. Just one calm sentence that echoed through the locker room. "The field decides, not you." Veterans saw everything. And it wasn't just the performance earlier that impressed them, it was this moment. His restraint turned heads. His stillness made people take him seriously. You don't teach that. You don't script that. That kind of presence either lives in you or it doesn't. And in that moment, Sanders showed everyone, even the front office, that he wasn't just a quarterback. He was the quarterback. Within hours, players were rallying behind him. Offensive linemen, receivers, even defensive veterans pulled him aside with words of support. Coaches backed him. The locker room, traumatized just hours before, quickly found a focal point. Not because he was perfect on the field, but because in the midst of emotional collapse, he stayed in control. But even a calm leader needs support. And Gabriel's meltdown exposed something far bigger than one player's instability. It revealed the cracks in the entire Browns organization. It would be easy to pin the blame solely on Dillon Gabriel. After all, he's the one who lost control. He's the one who turned frustration into violence. But what if this wasn't just one man snapping? What if the organization set him up to fail? According to multiple sources, the warning signs were there. Gabriel had been withdrawing for weeks, skipping meetings, avoiding teammates, growing visibly unstable. Coaches noticed, so did veterans. Even the team's sports psychologist reportedly raised flags, recommending closer monitoring and intervention. But the Browns didn't act. They believed the competition would work itself out. That pressure would bring clarity. But pressure without support doesn't build champions, it breaks people. And then there's ownership. Rumors suggest top execs were rooting for Sanders from the beginning. He brought more excitement, more media attention, more brand value. Gabriel? He was respected, but never really embraced. So while the coaching staff promised a fair fight, the front office had already chosen sides. And whether they realized it or not, that decision set off a domino chain no one could stop. Because when leadership creates instability, players don't just lose games, they lose grip. And when a team ignores mental red flags, they don't just risk ego clashes, they risk full-blown disaster. This incident isn't just a Cleveland Browns problem. It's a wake-up call for the entire NFL. Teams across the league are watching closely, rethinking how they handle quarterback competitions and mental health. The brutal reality? Pressure at this level can push even the most talented players to the edge. And when warning signs go ignored, the fallout can be catastrophic. Front offices are now scrambling to improve psychological evaluations during the draft. Coaches are pushing for better mental health resources, not just for starters, but for backups who often live in the shadows, battling for their careers every day. The Browns' nightmare has exposed a blind spot in professional football, one that could change how teams build rosters and manage locker rooms forever. Meanwhile, Cleveland faces a long road ahead. The public relations nightmare, legal battles, and fractured locker room won't heal overnight. Free agents may hesitate to join a team known for internal chaos. Draft prospects might look elsewhere. And the fans? They're left wondering if their Browns can ever recover. One thing is clear. This violent outburst wasn't just a moment of lost control. It was a symptom of deeper dysfunction. One that demands change. Because in the NFL, talent wins games, but trust and respect win championships.